Just before we go ahead and start into the next scene, can we just all briefly take a moment to think about what we know so far in the play? What have we learned, and what have we seen in Act One, Scene One? Who have we met? Who have we been introduced to? So would you agree that Act One, Scene One is distinctly divided really into two different parts, even though it all happens within the one scene and the action all takes place in the one place? Okay, Act One, Scene One is divided into two distinct sections. The first one, Lena, would you like to tell us about what happens initially? What's the first part of the scene all about?
The first part was two servants were talking badly about the Montague family.
Good girl.
With how they wanted to fight the servants in the other family.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that came Benvolio, and after the fight started between the two servants because one of the servants bit his thumb.
Good. And what was the significance of that? Sorry now for interrupting you, Lena. One of the servants bit his thumb at one of the servants in the other house. And so we would say today, so what if he bit his thumb? But do you know what the significance of that is?
It was offensive at that time.
Well done. Good girl.
Yeah, that started the whole conversation that led to the fight.
Correct.
Benvolio came and tried to end it, but then Tybalt came in because he's a violent person.
Good girl.
He made the fight even more bigger, and then both families came and joined in.
Good.
And it became a huge mess. And
well done.
And then the prince came and gave a speech about how it should be all in peace.
Good.
And I think he just wanted to set a good impression to the citizens, because if there's going to be fighting anywhere, no one would feel safe.
Good. That's absolutely true. Well done, Lena. That's really fantastic synopsis of the first part of the scene. So the first part of Act One, Scene One, concentrates really on a big brawl or fight that happens on the streets of Verona, and that part of the scene ends when the prince comes and gives a speech, gives out to everybody for fighting, and he threatens them that if anybody is caught fighting in the streets again, they will be put to death. And then everybody moves off the stage and they move away on the orders of the prince, except for three people who are left talking on stage. Ilias, can you remember who the three people left on stage were?
Lord Montague, Lady Montague, and Benvolio.
Correct. And so they enter into a conversation because they're all concerned about Romeo. Lady Montague asks Benvolio if he has seen Romeo that day, and she says she's very glad that he wasn't at the fight. And then we learn through their conversation that Romeo has been acting very strangely lately. He has been very down in himself. He has been avoiding company. He's been spending a lot of time by himself. He has been not able to sleep at night. He's been going out for long walks. And then when the daylight arrives, he comes home then and he closes his shutters and he makes his bedroom dark. And so he shuts out the light and shuts out the day. And he is basically not a happy camper at the moment, okay? So then Benvolio says to Lord and Lady Montague that they see Romeo approaching in the distance, and Benvolio says he'll try and chat with him and see if he can find what the problem is. And so Lord and Lady Montague then leave, and then we see the conversation between Benvolio and Romeo. Ronas, could you sum up that conversation and just give us an idea of what transpires or what happens between Benvolio and Romeo there in the last part of the first scene?
Um, uh, they have a conversation about why Romeo has not been
Acting like himself, I suppose, recently.
yeah, not acting like himself, and he has not come out of his room.
Very good. And do
He's
we find out?
isolated.
Do we find out what is wrong with him?
Yeah, he has. He loves Juliet, but he thinks that Juliet doesn't love him back.
Okay, now there's you're
No,
right.
it doesn't say Juliet, but we know it's Juliet.
That's a really, really good point. Actually, and I don't like to be spoiling it, but it doesn't say it's Juliet, is correct. And I think this is exactly what Shakespeare wants to happen. He wants people to think that Romeo is lovesick because of Juliet, when in actual fact he's not. At the start of Romeo and Juliet, Romeo is in love with a different girl. Now they call her Rosaline. Some people call her Rosaline, whichever. Rosaline is how her name is spelled. And you're quite right. We don't get her name in the first scene, but we do discover through Benvolio that Romeo is in love, that he is depressed because the girl he loves doesn't love him back. And also, what else have we discovered about this girl in the first scene? It's the real cause of Romeo's sadness. Yes, Lena.
Well, she says she will never ever marry someone.
Correct.
He will never get over her.
Very, very good.